Tony, where are you originally from?
Well, I was born in Venezuela, in South America.
A town, a city?
Los Teques is a town nearby the capital, Caracas.
Population?
I don't know, but it must be roughly must be like 100,000 people living in there, roughly.
Oh, right. So a big, about the same population as Harlow.
Yeah.
Paint a picture of that town.
Well, it's a town. It's that town. It has a lot of hills. So you have most of the houses. They go like up the road and then down the road, and it's a mixture between a modern city and like the old colonial houses from the Spanish area when Venezuela was a Spanish colony.
So there's very much a Spanish influence in all around.
Yeah. I mean Venezuela used to be a Spanish colony until the 800s.
Okay. And so growing up, describe your house and the street in which you grew up in.
Well, I used to live in a flat. It was the only building on the neighborhood. Most of it was houses. And then after a while, I moved to another city. I moved out of Los Teques to another city in Venezuela called La Victoria. It means the victory. The name came a lot of Spanish cities at that time when it was the Spanish Empire. They were named like that after they won a battle. I don't know, so many years ago. And that town, it was more, like an industrial town, a bit more modern, but still with that strong colonial influence.
We've mentioned colonial Spanish quite a lot there. So when you were at school doing history, was a lot of it about Spanish history, or did you learn about Venezuelan history?
I mean, because it's linked. So so when you learn you learn Venezuela history, you need to learn that part when the country used to be Spanish colony. So from the discovery until the independence. So you learn a lot about Spanish history at that time.
And I mentioned school. What was the name of your school? Did you enjoy school life?
Yeah. It was quite a happy time back then. I studied in 3 schools. Once was a very small one. The name was Bella Vista, which means like a beautiful view. Then I moved to a bigger school, but it was only for 1 year after I moved to La Victoria. The name of the school was Liceo San Jose. It's like St. Joseph's School. And then after that, I spent the rest of my high school years in a school named Colegio María de la Paz. It's like Our Lady of Peace school.
And what were your favorite subjects?
Well, mainly history and geography.
Good. And so, what about summer holidays? Were you able to go on holiday at all?
Yeah, well, but most of the holidays at the time it was like inside the country, because in South America in particular it's very expensive to travel. The distance are much more longer than here. I mean, a flight from Venezuela to Colombia is like about 3 or 4 hours. So if you wanna go from here to France, it's only 1 hour, and you have the train from King Cross St. Pancras straight away to Paris, so it's easier to travel in here.
And what about the rest of South America? Since then, have you been able to travel to other countries?
No, I mean the only country I was able to visit when I was living back in Venezuela was Portugal. The country my parents are from.
And do people find that surprising? Say that you've never been to Argentina or Peru, or just that's the way it is?
Yeah, I mean, it's the way it is. Nowadays you find like a lot of Venezuelans living across South America due to migration crisis in my country.
And did a lot, here we're talking about Venezuela, and you're now in the United Kingdom. Do you know a lot of Venezuelans who moved?
Well, I know. I have a few friends in here. People that I met when I came here, and people that I already met when I was from Venezuela. Even I have a schoolmate that is living here in the UK. He's living in Manchester.
When was the first time you went to Caracas, and describe Caracas for us?
Well, I went a lot in there. I mean, it's a big city. We're talking about a city about the size of London, with around 8 or 9 million people living in there. It's a very modern city, but also you can see a lot of poverty, because you have like the modern town center with the skyscrapers and all that, but then you have like the slumdogs with a lot of poverty, and it's all like all up the hill. So you have like the valley with the nice houses, the nice buildings, and then up the hill you have the slumdogs with like very precarious houses.
What about food? If somebody say to me, if you cook, or somebody who cooks, they cook a Venezuelan dish, what would that dish be?
Well, it could be two dishes. The most famous one now, because you can even find, not in Harlow, but here in the UK, especially in London, it's quite a few Venezuelan restaurants in there, is arepa. It's basically like a corn cake, flattened, and then you prepare the dough, you put it on a grill, you roast it, and then you slice it open, and then you fill it with whatever you want. Could be like a pulled chicken or pork or cheese or ham, whatever you want.
We would never stereotype Europeans. Norwegians are different from Greeks, and English are different from Germans. Can you see different personalities in different countries in South America? Do you think people would say you or somebody's what is a typical Venezuelan?
Well, a typical Venezuelan is kind of difficult, like to say like a typical Venezuelan is this and not that, because we're all quite different. But you can notice the difference between all the countries. I think it's mainly influenced by the weather, because Venezuela is more like in front of the Caribbean, more tropical, so it's kind of people like more to party. They are more tend to be like happier. But then if you go down the south to the Andes, then the people is like more quiet, more polite, more like more inside the shell.
When was the last time you were back?
I've never been back since I left.
How long?
I left in 2015.
All right. Do you miss it?
Well, yeah, I mean, I miss it a lot, but I have the feeling that if I go now, it's going to be a completely different country.
So, in conclusion, what do you call home? Home for you, Tony?
Well, it's kind of a difficult answer, because I mean, some people they say, well, home is the country I was born, but now my parents are not living in there. My parents are living in Portugal, so I can consider that as a home now. But also Harlow is becoming my home now, because I mean I have been able to progress in here. I started like a factory worker, putting packing bottles and things in boxes, and now I'm supervising a team of 15 people. I was able to buy my own house, so I'm starting to feel like Harlow can be my home too.